What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit. I clicked the wrong thing, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action, spawning in the top of the map in the blue color, playing as Thor this time. His name is Grand Monster, also known as Oden. Oden, not Odin. Oden. His opponent today in the red color playing as Oranos. His name is GrassenGroom. Yes, Oranos versus Thor. Great. First game going the wayside of Grand Monster there with some very, very nice Oden play. GrassenGroom going to stick with his tried and true Oranos. He is a top 20 Oranos player in the current player pool. Whatever that means, you take it up to you. He is a very, very strong player. So I expect to see great things from him in this tournament. His opponent today is a tried and true Nye expert. If he is not an expert, I don't really know what is, because GrassenGroom is Grand Monster is an incredibly strong player and has been for a very, very long time. Very, very strong. Anyways, game number 2 here in this best of 3 series. First game did go for Grand Monster, and we do have a map here. We've seen this variant a couple of times. It has a little hole in the middle of the map, which has a relic in it a lot of the times. And the relic in this game here has been the negative 20% temple upgrades favor food, gold, wood cost reduction relic. Very, very good here for gods like Loki, who need to have a lot with that. And for those of you wondering what the tournament rule set is and why we do see players switching gods when it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to switch gods on a map which is completely random, you would think they would just stick with their main god, is because it's not allowed. If you win a game with a god, you have to play a different god. So in a best of 3, you only have to play 2 gods to actually win said best of 3. So in this case, Grand Monster won with Oden, so he can't play Oden. GrassenGroom lost with Oranos, which means he can continue to play Oranos in this best of 3. And then once we get to the best of 5, then you have to win 3 games, which means you have to pick 3 different gods. If you play best of 7, you have to pick 4 gods. In the best of 9, you have to pick 5 gods, if that makes any sense. Yes, if that makes any sense. Alrighty. So, yes, for those of you wanting to stay up to date on all things competitive random tournament, you will be wanting to head over to my Discord. You'll find links in every single one of the video descriptions. And if you're on the Discord, I believe every X amount of minutes, there's a little link that pops up that has a link to my Discord. So you can join at any point if you feel. Don't feel like you have to, but if you want to, come say good day. It's a fairly friendly community. If anyone is not friendly, well, we kind of we shun them a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. Anyways, we've got a relic over here. Pandora's box, negative myth unit training time, which is very, very good in combination with the Odin's wand if you're going for some of those more spicy units, as we are seeing Prometheus coming through for GrassenGroom. No real surprises where that's concerned. The surprise for me is the delayed advance time here from Grand Monster, who is probably going to want an ox cart here, considering how late he's advancing. Though he can share the ox cart with this gold mine. A little bit of issues here on this map, it would seem. Both players kind of doing weird things, as we see the cows getting gathered from, and the villagers here finishing up on those boars. Seems like it's a kind of 2 hunt spawn map. I am starting to see a small trend with this, where this kind of spawn seems a little bit higher frequency than I would prefer, though it could just be anecdotally, and thus far, I don't know. But when the next change to this map is going to be after the group stages of this tournament, we're going to see a slight modification based on what we notice. So if you guys do have any suggestions for things you might want to see on this map, do consider leaving a comment on something interesting you might want to see added. I'm sure that weird things are fairly welcome, as long as they don't go too crazy. we have to remember that we have to keep the competitive idea of Mega Random alive and well in this map. So any ideas are welcome. Feel free to leave a response if you want. Now we see the Promethean Offspring moving forward for GrassenGroom, going to be hitting these villagers here as the villagers do have to turn around and start shanking. Actually, a really nice idea here from Grand Monster is just a handful of villagers attacking both Promethean's Offspring here as a Ursa going to come forward and scare those Promethean Offsprings off, as one does end up falling here. And now Grand Monster is going to move over onto his boar, and we will start be seeing those Murmillo Terma moving forward to try and take down these villagers as best as they can. Longhouse coming up now for Grand Monster, as he's a little bit slow on these. I'm interested to see exactly what unit he's going to be going for here. It looks like he's making some throwing axemen. Normally, I wouldn't recommend throwing axemen against Oranos this early. The idea being that the Terma gets super value against throwing axemen. But we'll see how it's all going to go. As the Murmillo swing through, we see the villagers just about to shank down these Offspring here. As they will be retreating away, not wanting to lose any of the low HP villagers just yet. See the Promethean Offspring getting taken out as the unit's going to be moving forward, pushing GrassenGroom away. As the population differential still very, very close here. 52 villagers. Not villagers, 52 population, 54 population for GrassenGroom to 47 population for Grand Monster. So Grand Monster should technically be able to defend this, especially with the help of those villagers. Oftentimes we can see Norse players, especially Thor players, over defending these types of situations here, as they really can't compete with the early game of an Oranos. Oftentimes it's better to just say, all right, he's here now, let's go home. Just take that loss as you will and kind of do with it what you want. As the hit and run here from GrassenGroom going to be fairly scary, as we do see those throwing axemen here getting targeted down. We'll get immediately sniped here by the Terma as they do a lot of damage. The Reigning Cavalry trying to take down those hero Terma, but there's still a handful of units remaining. The village is going to come in here to try and shank down this one. I've seen this happen time and time again, and it's a very scary moment for a Norse player really wanting this extra 300 food, not realizing that it's really not that important. But not really losing too many villagers here, but there's the shockwave. That shockwave is the nail in the coffin, as it were. However, it does seem like Grand Monster is able to retreat out of here without even losing one villager after that shockwave. Somehow, some way, but GrassenGroom heavily in favor right now in terms of population, 67 to 44, when it was very close before that fight. So nice play here from GrassenGroom. Good micro, prevents one boar from getting eaten in this game, and he's going to be able to sit in here and be a real menace to Grand Monster, who has actually unfortunately picked the wrong gold mine, in my opinion, to be mining here. Had Grand Monster been on this gold mine, he would be 1,000 gold into it and then could simply just move back onto this gold mine completely fine, no real problems where that's concerned, and continue with 4,000 gold in his base instead of only 3,000 safe gold in his base. And GrassenGroom going to try and make his way in here. We do have the watchtowers up, as Grand Monster is looking like he has mostly cut training supply here, or cut units here, as the throwing axemen coming forward do what they can, as this game's going to continue. We do see this nice wall here with the tower behind it. It's going to help a ton, but Grand Monster's idea is 100% to get to the heroic age here. See if he's going to be able to make it or not, and what he's going to be able to have done when he's there. But this tower, with the help of the town center, going to be a big help. GrassenGroom going to be retreating back. Do we see a town center or anything for GrassenGroom? Which looks like he's going to keep piling units in to his opponent's base here. One thing I do like from the Atlantean perspective would be Promethean in this situation, to try and bash through these walls, bash through these buildings, this wall, etc., etc. But GrassenGroom hasn't really managed to do that just yet, as we do see a house coming up over here, and Grand Monster going to be able to click up to the next age right now as the village is retreating back into the main base here. And the thing is here, if Grand Monster can get to the heroic age, he's going to be able to make a hill fort on this forward gold mine fairly easily, and then be able to mine from it. He's got a frost, and then he can go into Huskarl throwing axemen and create a big problem for GrassenGroom here. As GrassenGroom has not, I mean, he's done a little bit of damage, but he doesn't able to do any substantial damage to solidly slow Grand Monster down. Grand Monster's gold mine, 900 gold remaining, still a decent amount here. As the house coming back up over here, lots of villagers making their way over onto the wood, throwing axemen, getting created on loop basically here. As the units of GrassenGroom can simply sit out the front of this base. Force of Frost is going to be the way to go in a big way, as he doesn't want to just allow a hill fort to get thrown up here. The watchtower going to be picking off some of these units as GrassenGroom looking to move around here and take down these villages. One place these villagers can mine or chop wood fairly safely is this forest over here. We do see GrassenGroom going to swing around, and Grand Monster has to decide where he wants to send these villagers. I don't think there's a shockwave just yet. Doesn't look like there is. The villagers not making a move though, and there they go. Be retreating back home here as, well, I mean, Grand Monster can just frost this. Doesn't actually manage to pick off a villager here just yet. And I don't think this is a fight that Grand Monster really wants. He wants to throw up that hill fort on this location as the Frost Giant is in. We do see a very bizarre hill fort getting thrown up. He wants this large gold mine when he has one in his home base. And there is the forest fire onto this location. Going to get a decent amount of damage done, but not a whole lot. It does do 1 damage a second to each of these units. And the damage cap will get hit fairly fast here, as each one of these units is getting picked off fairly quickly. But the remainder be fairly fine here, as GrassenGroom is like, all right, completely fine, managed to force a defensive frost and go to the heroic age, go to the mythic age, try and get another timing here in this game. Let's see how he's going to do. And we see the hill fort coming up here for Grand Monster, and he seems like he's going to be okay in a big way. Alrighty. So villagers for Grand Monster are going to make their way over onto this location. The hill fort is now producing some of those scary Huskarls. As the term are going to be going elsewhere, we see a nice little building block here from Grand Monster, as all of those term are going to be here feeling some very heavy pain here as the dwarves come over here onto this gold mine. We see a handful of Huskarl going to try and drop some more buildings over here to prevent the Terma from escaping, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. Let them live. It's completely fine here. They are on the way though for GrassenGroom. Grand Monster's got to be super happy about the position he has found himself in this game after all is said and done. However, GrassenGroom still firmly in this game. We've talked about it once. We've talked about it a million times. I mean, Grand Monster is also down a heroic age god power, whereas GrassenGroom is going to have his heroic age god power for the rest of this game. As the houses coming down on the town center, wouldn't be surprised to see Grand Monster wanting his town center, but he doesn't have resources for it just yet. As Grand Monster going to be wandering forward here, the Frost Giant retreating back. The army going to be slowly but surely wanting to come in and take these units down, but not able to just yet. Axe of Muspel coming through for Grand Monster as soon as he sees that heroic age come in for GrassenGroom, the scary Stymphalian bird. Not so scary once you get Axe of Muspel. Gives you a throwing axeman a huge bonus against said bird, and not only that, birds have only got 15% hack armor. So this could be a fairly difficult fight here for GrassenGroom to win. The problem is that Grand Monster hasn't got himself his infantry upgrades just yet, as the Frost Giant's getting some good Frosties down, and GrassenGroom misstepping yet again as the Stymphalian bird having to retreat back. Do we see any sort of mythic age coming through? No. Second town center is on the way up for GrassenGroom. And Longhouse, 2 Longhouses coming down for Grand Monster. problem for Grand Monster that isn't actually that real of a problem is that he doesn't have a lot of food income. So what you do in this situation is you put a whole bunch of villages, as we do see a big shockwave here from GrassenGroom as the unit's going to be moving on to this position. The dwarves, villages getting pulled off. The bear going to be taking down the Caraballister and trying to finish this one off. It does seem like this fighting that GrassenGroom is trying to force just not quite making it work here, as the throwing axemen do manage to get onto the Stymphalian bird. They're not the best of control there from GrassenGroom, but those Promethean actually able to go to town onto these units here, as there's no heroes remaining. A Frost Giant going to be coming back in to help defend this even more, as the Dryads now pushing in. Going to be very difficult for Grand Monster to continue defending this one, but it does seem like Grand Monster has got the army that he needs to defend this position. He has dropped down to 87 population, GrassenGroom down to 71 population, but as I was saying, the problem for Grand Monster is food income. He doesn't have it here. And what I was going to say is all you have to do here for Norse in this specific situation against Oranos or against Atlantean, if you find this situation, is just put everyone on gold, get yourself a market, buy away to Mythic Age. You know your opponent has to build farms. So your plan with the Ragnarok to win the game is actually to find the town center or find where all the farms are, push your opponent off that. Then they're going to be stuck, no food income themselves, and be very far behind. So that's one way forward. The other way is to keep eating the food that's on the map. And we do see berry bushes here. So that might work for Grand Monster. And we'll see if that's something he's going to do. But now we're starting to see a little bit of a stronger army getting assembled by GrassenGroom. His 2 town centers, 88 population, 90 population of 130. Grand Monster still has the advantage in terms of population. He doesn't have a second town center yet, which, I mean, he probably could be doing with that one, but doesn't have it. And he's still making gatherers, which I don't particularly like here, especially with Thor. The cheaper dwarf, 60 gold. It costs a lot. Technically costs less to build a 60 gold dwarf than a 50 gold gatherer, because gold gathers faster than food. So that might make it very close to an equal amount of resources. But the point is, it's a tough life for an Atlantean player in this situation. However, Grand Monster being incredibly aggressive here with his infantry, going to try and get this town center up. GrassenGroom is going to want to take this fight as best as he can. The Stymphalian bird flying overhead, going to try and take the Frost Giants down. Nice retreat micro there from Grand Monster to pull the Stymphalian bird into range of those throwing axemen here. But the army composition now of GrassenGroom has started to get into a very scary amount of units here, as those Miller come through and chop down a lot of those Huskar, which did not get on to those Arcus that are doing tons of damage here. The Stymphalian bird does get taken down, but Grand Monster drops down to 80 population, and GrassenGroom has firmly taken a lead on that population. He's got his 2 town centers up already. He's in a great position. GrassenGroom's got to be shaking his head right now, saying, why did I go for this town center? It doesn't matter how in front you are against Oranos, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen it happen time and time again. You've always got a chance to throw against Oranos, as GrassenGroom has found his way back into this game just a little bit. We'll see if it's going to be enough for GrassenGroom to find an advantage here, as this town center is getting shot up very fast, but GrassenGroom wants to put a stop to that. He's got a very healthy army here. As the units come through, the throwing axemen pull off the town center here, as the town center is going up slowly. It looks like it's barely going to get up, as a handful of units in the back are going to be enough, but this is going to be a piling on of units, and it seems like the town center is getting denied here thus far, as a handful of Mamillo have prevented the town center from getting up. 1 Huskar on here, and this is absolutely devastating for Grand Monster here, as his Frost Giants doing the best they possibly can, getting taken out though, and the army in the back of these medium Arcus are just so strong, especially with the help of these medium Mermillo. And even though you get throwing axemen, Huskar to defeat this army fairly nicely, it's just sometimes not enough, as GrassenGroom takes the score lead. The town center still trying to come up, but it's just going to get denied here. The gold mine over here still getting grabbed Grand Monster does have 700 resources in this town center, so that could put him closer to the Mythic Age here. Ragnarok is always an option against Oranos players. The hero Arcus here getting chopped down but doesn't quite get picked off as a Symphalian Bird going to be wandering in. GrassenGroom, 123 population, Grand Monster 71, and in that moment of the game, Grand Monster has to tap out. GG. Well played. Grand Monster throwing in a big way, or you could say it another way. GrassenGroom with a clutch comeback here in this second game. A really, really nice play here from GrassenGroom after kind of the blunder of fighting a little bit too much against Grand Monster. Had Grand Monster just grabbed this town center instead of being greedy, he would have been up, he would have been fine, and he probably would have gone on to win this game in a big way. That's the point here against Oranos, is he's taken the advantage, he gets the advantage, but then you have to convert it, and the way to convert it is very, very different to how you would convert against Egyptian or Zeus or Norse or Greek or whatever. You just very, very different execution in the end of the day to win games against Atlantean. And you have to just accept the fact that it's different, because this game is an asymmetric game, which is what makes it so bloody great. But a well-played game by GrassenGroom. If you guys enjoyed this game, we're going to game number 3. So leave a like, leave a follow, and I'll see you guys in the next one.